Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a genuinely fascinating report from Red Dog Advisory on the 2026 funding landscape. Australian startups raised about $2.1 billion in equity back in 2025. But here's the thing. Giving up huge chunks of your company is no longer the only way to grow. We're going to break down exactly how Australian founders can secure funding and scale rapidly, all without losing control of their businesses. Okay, here is our playbook for today. 1. The equity loss dilemma. 2. The non-dilutive landscape. 3. Grants versus revenue financing. 4. Customer and equipment hacks. And 5. Layering your capital stack. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The equity loss dilemma. Choosing your growth path. As a founder, you usually face two pretty painful choices. Option A, bootstrap. You fund the whole thing yourself. Now, that's great for keeping control, but it usually means surviving on instant noodles while growing so slowly that you risk being completely outpaced by better-funded competitors. Then there's option B, raising traditional equity capital, like going to VCs. Sure, you get the cash to grow quickly, but the trade-off is massive. You're losing 20 to 40% of your company, sacrificing board control, and honestly giving up a lot of your strategic flexibility. But what if I told you there's an option C? It's incredibly underutilized, and it's called non-dilutive capital. This is where you keep your hard-earned equity, maintain total control of your vision, and still get the cash you absolutely need to scale rapidly. The whole game here is keeping what is yours while still putting your foot heavily on the gas. All right, moving to Section 2, the non-dilutive landscape, your $3.3 billion opportunity. Yup, you heard that right. Over $3.3 billion. That is the amount of non-dilutive capital sitting out there available right now to Australian startups. Yet, according to the research, most founders tap into less than 10% of what they're actually eligible for. They're literally leaving billions on the table simply because they don't know it's there. So, where is all this cash hiding? Well, the R&D Tax Incentive leads the pack at over $1.2 billion, followed closely by $800 million in other government grants. Then you've got your commercial options, $600 million in venture debt, $400 million in revenue-based financing, and about $300 million in equipment finance. It is a massive pool of capital. But knowing which of these tools to actually use is crucial. That brings us to Section 3, grants versus revenue financing. The heavy hitters compared. Let's weigh the trade-offs between the two big ones. First up, grants, specifically the R&D Tax Incentive. Think of this as effectively free money, offering a 43.5% cash refund. The catch? Speed. It can take 10 to 14 agonizing months to actually see that cash. On the flip side, you have revenue-based financing, or RBF. That cash lands in your account in just 2 to 4 weeks, but it comes at a cost. You generally have to repay 1.3 to 2 times the amount you borrowed. Now, neither takes your equity, but grants are best for that early, unproven product development phase, while RBF, that is strictly for scaling a business model that you already know is working. To be super clear on how that faster option works, revenue-based financing basically takes a set percentage of your monthly revenue. If you have a slow month, your repayment is smaller. If you have an amazing month, you repay more. It naturally scales with your cash flow. This is absolutely perfect for funding a marketing campaign or hiring a sales team where you know the ROI is strong. But you should definitely not use this if you're pre-revenue, simply because you won't have the cash flow to actually service the repayments. Now let's run the math on those government grants for a second. Let's say you're developing some innovative new tech, and you spend $400,000 on eligible R&D, stuff like developer salaries or contractor costs. You can get a $174,000 cash refund back from the government. That brings your real effective cost down to just $226,000. It is an incredibly cheap way to fund early-stage development, provided you meticulously track your developers' time. Which leads us to Section 4, customer and equipment hacks, the cheapest capital available. Check this out. If you're running a product business, you can actually use your customers' orders to fund your entire production run. Let's say a customer orders $500,000 worth of goods, but you need $300,000 to actually manufacture them. Instead of giving up equity to get that cash, a financier provides the $300,000 directly. You manufacture the goods, deliver them, the customer pays the $500,000, and the financier instantly takes their money back, plus a tiny 2 to 5% fee. You keep the rest, all without sacrificing a single share of your company. And if you're a service or software business, you can use a similar concept to hack your growth. A huge trap founders fall into is relying entirely on a slow drip of monthly subscriptions. say $1,000 a month. But if you offer your customer a 20% discount to pay for the whole year upfront, you instantly generate $10,000 in cash today. You can then use that prepayment as instant growth capital to hire and market, completely bypassing the need for venture capital money. It's a real game changer. Okay, let's pull all of this together in Section 5. Layering your capital stock, building a long-term growth strategy. As your startup grows through different revenue stages, your funding strategy needs to strategically evolve right along with it. In the pre-revenue stage, you really should rely heavily on grants, founder savings, and customer pre-sales. As you hit early revenue, that's when you maximize your R&D tax incentive while bringing in revenue financing for growth. Finally, in the growth stage, once you're clearing $200,000 in monthly revenue, you can start layering in venture debt to extend your runway long before you ever have to even think about raising equity. So what is the ultimate goal for an early revenue startup? Ideally, you're stacking these options. We're talking 40% from the R&D tax incentive, 30% from revenue-based financing, 20% from customer pre-sales, and just a tiny 10% from traditional equity. By doing this, you are effectively funding your own growth and, most importantly, keeping control of your own boardroom. Now, a quick warning, because you've got to be incredibly careful when navigating this landscape. There are some huge pitfalls to avoid. First, don't wait until the end of the year to track your R&D time. Document it from day one or you'll lose out on that cash. Second, never use expensive revenue financing for unproven products. Use it strictly to scale what already works. Third, beware of stacking too many RBF deals. You absolutely must keep your total repayments under 10% of your revenue, or you will literally choke your cash flow. And lastly, never raise equity without rigorously checking your alternative options first. So I'm going to leave you with one very powerful question to ask yourself before your next funding round. Would your customers prepay for a 20% discount? Seriously, think about it, because raising equity from a position of strength or avoiding it entirely by letting your customers fund your regrowth could literally mean millions of extra dollars in your pocket at your eventual exit. That wraps up this explainer. Keep your equity, maintain your control, and scale smarter.